Let me start with the title of this webinar is an AI in academic translation, using AI wisely to publish your research in English. Okay, so let's start from the origin or the existence of, before we start with the AI, better for us to know about the foundation of writing. We know that as a faculty members or as a lecturers and also students, we currently are exposed to many academic articles. And then for that, we are also as a lecturers and then as well as students, we need to produce an article, an academic articles to disseminate our research findings as well as our innovation and also our knowledge about specific or certain field. Okay, so the foundation of writing, the journey began with the development of formal writing system throughout history. Yeah, in the past, probably we know that we just write, okay, we just write according to the topic that will given to us, and then also we produce an article based on the specific topic. And then when it comes to the period of computer-assisted translation or CAT, the introduction of the digital tools first began streamline the professional translation landscape. Yeah, I noticed also since I was being a lecturer for more than 10 years, and then at the first time when I was producing my first article, and then it was disseminated in a conference, I know that I also rely or depend on a translation at the time, because I know that for having our papers to be published in a Scopus, for example, in a Scopus journal or Scopus proceeding, of course, it requires good English languages. Yeah, and then also with a good structure of language itself when we have that materials. Okay, and then nowadays we are in the rise of large language models. So the tools like ChatGPT have created an unprecedented shift in how we process language. Now, as I said before, that we live with the AI itself. So when we doing our work, we are not just doing our work based on our competence or based on our way of thinking, but also we can be it sometimes it will be interfere by the use of AI. AI becomes our tools in helping us to be more efficiently and effective in using time, and then also in resulting the good work for our job or for our task. So near human performance, for the first time, probably we are familiar with the machine translation. And then after that, nowadays, we are in a near human performance where we are also familiar with the neural machine translation, the use of certain neural networks such as AI tools, for example, ChatGPT, and then also for the translator, probably they used DeepL tools, yeah. And then this going to be enhanced, and then also every day we use these tools to help us in producing our academic writing. Now, before we continue, I have a kind of, let's say for a question, a quiz, yeah? True or false, and then why? What do you think, Bapak Ibu? AI translation tools understand the scientific meaning of your research. Is it true or false for this statement? Probably anyone can try to give an opinion about this, whether is it true or false.
You may raise your hand, probably.
Yeah.
Anyone?
Anyone would like to try? Ada yang mau mencoba mungkin? Bapak Ibu? Just share your idea, true or false. Okay, so let's see the hints or the answers. So, a translation tool understand the scientific meaning of your research. This is, according to this is correct because AI can predict the patterns and then words based on the data that we give it. For example, before we proceed to giving a prompt, sometimes we also include a data to the AI tools, and then we ask the AI based on our prompt itself. So it does not truly understand the scientific concept. Yeah, the AI can predict the patterns, but cannot understand the scientific concept. Okay. So AI use a database of all human knowledge to fully comprehend your specific hypothesis. So although we use AI for helping us to work with our academic articles, but we should know that this AI is just a tools. Yeah, it cannot be like the one that can proceed the logical things. Yeah, the knowledge itself, the specific things, the specific hypothesis for our inquiries. So we should treat that AI as a tools. Okay, and then yeah, I'll skip this one. If we see the difference between the machine translation and then also the modern neural networks, we see that in the past probably we have certain tools, like for example, uh, CAT, yeah, computer assisted translation. We have that kind of machine that can help us to process the text, the source text when we want to translate them. So start from the input text, and then the machine itself will do the translation word for word rules using the word for word rules. And then after that, we get the result of the translation, output text itself. So the machine translation use the rigid word for word replacement without context. Yeah. So what we have is just a translation like word for word translation. No context, no lack of nuance. I mean, sometimes when we write something, we cannot say that what we write there is a message in that, and then this message sometimes cannot be uh, predicted clearly and then correctly by the machine translation itself. And then now, when we are in a neural network ecosystem, we see that the tools like DeepL, ChatGPT, or even Quillbot, they can process, even they can include not only word by word, but also they try to include the cultural nuance in the process of translating text. Okay. So this is the process, Bapak Ibu. I'm not going to explain it this since I know that I have a specific time. Yeah, I don't have much time. So just see the process of translating. So in the translation, what we translate actually, we translate meaning, not words. Okay, we translate meaning, not words. So that's the essential of translation, Bapak Ibu. Okay. Then This is the process. There is an encoder and then also a decoder. Okay. For encoder, it functions to convert transformation text to numbers, for example. Okay. While for decoder, the function is to generate transformation numbers to text. So something like that, Bapak Ibu. Now, let's see how reliable the translation with AI itself. Of course, if we see from the strength point or the good side of using AI, yeah. Is it different? Okay. If we see from the strength point or the goodness, the good side of AI in translation, for the speed, yeah, translates thousands of words in a seconds. And then also consistency, maintains uniform terminology. I will show you later. And then the last, grammar, generally corrects basic syntax errors. That's the strength points of AI in translation. But it also has weaknesses, Bapak Ibu. Nuance, maybe subtle academic tone or discipline-specific jargon. And then context, sometimes misinterpret the context. And then the last is a hallucination, occasionally invents non-existent facts or citation. Okay. And then what about translation with or without AI? Yeah, of course, if it is without AI, we can see on the left side, yeah, it's a manual translation. The process is very slow and exhausting. While if it is AI assisted or using AI for the translation, the workflow will speeds up speeds up the drafting phase. Yeah, so the condition will be different if we use AI or without AI. And then here also some metrics about the capabilities and then also the limitations of using AI in translation. Yeah, I think I will skip this part because I already mentioned before. Yeah. Now this is about how how we master the AI in academic translation from draft to publication. This is the process, Bapak Ibu. So for example, we have an Indonesian research, Indonesian's draft. Our text or our article is written in Indonesian, and then we use AI. In this case, we use AI, and then AI will work, and then they will give us the initial English text, or we call it also a draft, yeah, Bapak Ibu. And then after this, it is not stop. The process is not stopped, Bapak Ibu. It will be better to continue. We need to verify the scientific terminologies that we have from the draft from AI, resulting from AI. We need to check the terminologies, like for example, some scientific terms. And then we move to refine the research voice. I mean here the text, yeah, when we read it the text loudly, we should know whether it is the sounds is appropriate in the target language. For example, in English, is it sounds proper in English or it sounds awkward? Yeah, so we need to read it loud. Yeah, the result of the translation we read loud. Yeah, to know whether it is sounds natural or not natural in the target language. And then the last, we can proceed to the reliability and ethical of the text, the translated text. Okay. Right. And then, okay. Next, there is also some thoughts, yeah, that we should think, yeah, Bapak Ibu. If AI translates your manuscript perfectly, is it still necessary to have human editor? to review the text? What do you think, Bapak Ibu?
Of course,
Yes, of course, yeah, yeah. Why? Is there any reasons, Ibu?
because it's people can do the context, critical thinking for the context, and yeah,
Yeah, that's right, Ibu. That's because as I mentioned before, that AI just predict the patterns, Bapak Ibu. So the context implicitly in your translation, in your original text, uh, the AI itself cannot always interpret correctly, Bapak Ibu. So
and
that's why.
yeah, and we can link, of one perception to other perception, something like that, with
Yes,
our critical thinking.
yes, that's right, Ibu. Yeah, so we still need human to edit, yeah, to proofread the result of the translation text itself. Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Ibu. Yeah, yeah, we skipped this one, and then now we focus on the gap, the translation gap in academic publishing. Yeah, if we see here, if we do the translation of the text, our academic writing, for example, and then we use Google Translate. Yeah, yeah, we know that Google Translate it is widely adopted as baseline by Indonesian EFL researchers. Yet empirical shown to be less accurate for complex academic and formal content. This is based on a research done by researchers from Atmajaya. Ya, jadi dari riset tersebut terlihat bahwa penggunaan Google membantu ya. Kita tahu, semua tahu, pasti mahasiswa juga tahu menggunakan Google Translate ya. The first thing mungkin yang akan masuk di dalam pikiran kita ketika diminta untuk melakukan translation, pasti kita teringat langsung menggunakan Google Trans Tool tersebut. Tapi sayang ya di sini dikatakan bahwa akurasinya rendah Bapak Ibu ya. Nah, so for specialized academic tools, kita bisa menggunakan beberapa alat bantu AI yang lain ya Bapak Ibu. Misalnya kita menggunakan Quillbot atau mungkin kita bisa menggunakan DeepL untuk membantu kita melakukan terjemahan dengan jargon-jargon atau technical terms yang sangat-sangat spesifik ya Bapak Ibu. Misalkan di bidang hukum atau di bidang IT atau mungkin juga di bidang bisnis, semua memiliki jargon atau specific terms seperti itu. Oke. Kemudian kita berlanjut. Nah, ini adalah beberapa tools ya yang kita bisa gunakan. Bapak Ibu bisa lihat sendiri. Google Translate ini useful for literal or general translation. Jadi misalkan Bapak Ibu ada teks bahasa Inggris, Bapak Ibu belum beda ya, baru menemukan, baru memperoleh, lalu kemudian teks itu dimasukkan ke dalam Google Translate hanya untuk mengetahui saja apa artinya, seperti itu ya. Meaningnya dalam bahasa Indonesia misalkan apa, seperti itu. Jadi hanya sebagai baseline Bapak Ibu dan sifatnya juga free ya Bapak Ibu. Nah, kalau tujuannya, if our goals for our translation is more on the contextual fluency, therefore we can use DeepL, ChatGPT, or even Quillbot. Semakin ke kanan Bapak Ibu semakin specialized and also for aesthetic translation Bapak Ibu. Especially kalau Bapak Ibu menerjemahkan puisi atau Bapak Ibu menerjemahkan literatur ya, teks-teks literatur semacam puisi atau mungkin juga pantun ya atau yang memiliki karakteristik tertentu Bapak Ibu ya. Oke. Oke, sorry. Nah, Ini ada matriks data Bapak Ibu terkait dengan akurasi teks menggunakan translation from English to Indonesian ya dengan kategori teks, for example general text. Kalau kita lihat nilai akurasinya yang terbesar adalah DeepL seperti itu. Kemudian untuk teks yang sifatnya technical text Bapak Ibu misalkan panduan seperti itu ya, manual book dan sebagainya kan sifatnya technical ya Bapak Ibu. Nah, itu juga masih dimenangkan oleh DeepL Bapak Ibu. Kemudian we move to legal text ya. Legal text ini di sini DeepL juga tapi akurasinya sedikit lebih rendah dibandingkan dua teks kategori teks sebelumnya. Dan yang terakhir adalah idioms. Idioms juga masih dimenangkan oleh DeepL. So in an average performance 93% ya, the accuracy of the translation from English to Indonesian will be good and then but presented by DeepL itself and then we can also see for the Google Translate 86% for the accuracy and then the last 84% for Microsoft translators. Okay. Nah, ini yang tadi saya sampaikan Bapak Ibu, misalkan di dalam terjemahan Bapak Ibu mengandung idioms, ya, seperti itu, mengandung idioms. Nah, Bapak Ibu bisa melihat bila yang di sebelah kiri ya, panel 1, the literal trap, ya, using Google Translate and Microsoft. Oke, Microsoft Translator. Kita perlu mulai menggerakkan bola pada proyek ini. The source phrase, we need to get the ball rolling on this project. And when it is translated using Google, terjemahannya menjadi kita perlu mulai menggerakkan bola pada proyek ini. Sekilas kalau penerjemahan literal word by word, ini benar Bapak Ibu. Tetapi tidak tepat, ya, not accurate for the meaning, ya. Kemudian untuk Microsoft kita perlu memutar bola. Ini juga salah. Oke, kemudian if we see on the right side panel 2 the contextual solution yang dengan DeepL terjemahannya menjadi kita perlu segera memulai proyek ini. Jadi the ball rolling ini tidak ada diterjemahkan literally tetapi lebih kepada kalimat ini terjemahannya lebih kontekstual Bapak Ibu. So for the contextual translation, it will keeps the naturalness and also the accuracy of the translation itself. Okay. Ya, kemudian contoh berikutnya Bapak Ibu, ini dari buku Sajak ya, Sapadi Djoko Darmono mungkin, Rintik Rindu. Rintik Rindu. If it is translated using general AI engine, Google Translate or ChatGPT, terjemahannya hanya menghasilkan terjemahan longing, hanya part of rindu saja. Ya Bapak Ibu. Sementara kalau menggunakan aesthetic and then refined translation using Quillbot, terjemahannya menjadi drops of longing. Dua hal yang berbeda ya Bapak Ibu. Yang satu hanya berarti longing berarti merindukan. Ya, sementara drops of longing diartikan tetesan kerinduan. Ya, mana yang lebih mendekati? Tentu rintik rindu lebih mendekati dengan drops of longing ya Bapak Ibu. Kalau kita lihat. Nah, so again AI tools can be used for the translation and then they also have some strengths, limitations as well as target use case for Indonesian English translation. Ya, seperti ini ya Bapak Ibu. Bisa dilihat. Ini secara umum, saya cepat saja. For general academic articles, you can use DeepL Bapak Ibu. yeah, because it is superior contextual accuracy and also natural output. While for complex or abstract concept, you can use ChatGPT because ChatGPT can give you best clarity across formal registers and also highly context aware. Jadi konteksnya masih bisa ya. And then for the literary or cultural text, you may use Quillbot to maintain the aesthetic quality and the source the faithfulness of the translation. Technical terminology, you can use DeepL and then custom glossary. Probably you have a glossary, okay? And then the last, collaborative or peer review, you may use also Fleeto. Yeah, it can be provides crowdsource native speaker verification, okay? Yeah, now we come to the publication, Bapak Ibu. If we want our paper, our translated text, academic text, published, and then here is the how AI efficiency, yeah, we combine AI and then also some humans expertise, Bapak Ibu. Yeah. So at the bottom, we start from DeepL or ChatGPT. This is for getting the initial structural translation and build, generate context aware. And after that, we can move to policing phase where we can use Quillbot, Bapak Ibu. And then the last, we can use human experts review. Okay. Ya, ini adalah beberapa. For the academic use case, DeepL usually used for journal articles and also dissertation, Bapak Ibu. While for ChatGPT can be used for abstract theories and complex methodology. Let's say, for example, you would like to join a conference, you can also use ChatGPT, Bapak Ibu. Quillbot, this is all because maintains aesthetic. So this is good for poetry, cultural studies, or even stylistic edits. Ya, jadi setelah paper-paper Bapak Ibu direview oleh reviewer seperti itu dan kemudian ada catatan terkait dengan stylistik atau style bahasa dari artikel Bapak Ibu sendiri. Nah, Bapak Ibu bisa dibantu oleh Quillbot. Dan yang berikutnya Google Translate, this is for quick reference or internal notes only. Ya, ini adalah gambarannya Bapak Ibu. Oke. Nah, for the editing AI output, what kind of strategies we can use? Yeah, the first we can start from rough data, draft, okay? And then we move to terminology check. And then the last we read aloud. Ya, Bapak Ibu harus membacanya dengan keras untuk memahami apakah ini terdengar natural atau tidak, seperti itu. Iya. Ya, saya tidak perlu di sini. Nah, ini terkait dengan editing strategies. Ini misalkan ada rekanan kita yang akan melakukan edit terhadap paper kita, maka ini ada 3 strategi Bapak Ibu to define your articles. The first is you can use back translation. Okay. And then you can use paraphrasing, manually restructuring. And then the last, text evaluation. So as a review, you can do these things also. Yeah, as a reviewer, yeah. And then this is the workflow for the step-by-step diagnostic framework for translating Indonesian into English, Bapak Ibu. Sama aja ya, seperti yang tadi sudah disampaikan sebelumnya. Nah, sebenarnya ini adalah matriks Bapak Ibu. Jadi ini saya coba ambil satu teks ya Bapak Ibu. Tidak banyak ya, teks di awal di bagian introduction mengenai translation ya. Oke, kemudian dari source text ini saya masukkan ke 4 alat, 4 tools ya Bapak Ibu. Ini ada yang pertama saya masukkan ke Google Translate. Misalkan kata the field of translation, dari 4 alat tersebut berbeda-beda ya Bapak Ibu. Google Translate menerjemahkannya sebagai bidang penerjemahan. Kemudian DeepL menerjemahkannya menjadi bidang terjemahan. Kemudian Quillbot menerjemahkan bidang penerjemahan. ChatGPT bidang penerjemahan. Jadi yang berbeda adalah DeepL Bapak Ibu. Oke, mengapa seperti ini? Karena di sini ada catatannya ya Bapak ya. DeepL konsisten menggunakan terjemahan tanpa imbuhan pean, sementara yang lain menggunakan penerjemahan. Menurut Golongarsari, penerjemahan lebih mengacu pada disiplin atau aktivitas. Jadi proses melakukan terjemahan Bapak Ibu. Sementara terjemahan sendiri lebih mengacu pada produk atau lingkup. So bidang terjemahan dianggap oleh DeepL adalah lingkup atau field dari terjemahan itu sendiri. Sementara bidang penerjemahan berfokus pada aktivitas atau kegiatan penerjemahan. Seperti itu. Kemudian hal lain yang sedikit berbeda Bapak Ibu adalah kata perkembangan, development ya. Di sini Google Translate menerjemahkan perkembangan, DeepL perkembangan, Quillbot pengembangan, ChatGPT perkembangan Bapak Ibu. Jadi ada perubahan juga di sini, ada perbedaan ya. Ketepatan glossary hanya Quillbot yang memilih pengembangan. Menurut glossary, pengembangan bersifat terencana karena sistem penulisan diciptakan secara bertahap. Perkembangan oleh Google, DeepL, dan ChatGPT mungkin lebih tepat untuk konteks history. Jadi kembali lagi Bapak Ibu, nanti kita perlu, mengapa kita perlu melakukan pengecekan Bapak Ibu ya. Di sini human review itu penting sekali Bapak Ibu. Ya, seperti itu. Oke. So, for the ethics of AI in publishing, there are 4 things, ada 4 hal Bapak Ibu. Transparency, journals requires mandatory disclosure of AI was used for translation or drafting. Authorship, AI cannot be listed as an author, only humans take responsibility for the work. Plagiarism, AI may generate text resembling existing word. Plagiarism check remain the author's responsibility. And privacy, never upload sensitive, anonymized or unpublished patient data into public AI tools. Jadi ada 4 kriteria, 4 hal ini yang perlu dijaga terkaitan dengan etika Bapak Ibu ya. Penggunaan translation, text translation, penggunaan translation dengan AI pada artikel jurnal atau pada academic writing, academic articles. Oke, ini nanti Bapak Ibu bisa melihat saja. Ini adalah summary Bapak Ibu. Nah, challenge and considerations, common pitfalls of AI translation, jelas ya Bapak Ibu. The pitfalls of AI translation is the context, struggling with the context and idiomatic expression. Okay. And then cultural nuance and language variation. Different cultures may have a different phrase and then also may have unique context. And then the last, ethical consideration in all translation. This is related with copyright, consent, and potential bias, Bapak Ibu. Okay, and yeah, the last, this is just I just try to get a good quotation, ya, Bapak Ibu. To maintain academic integrity, always use AI as a support tool, not a replacement for your own critical analysis. Okay, and then AI-generated machine translation offers significant potential for literary and academic translation, yet human touch is still needed to create aesthetic, target language translation. A hybrid approach that combines AI efficiency and human expertise is still needed. I guess that's all, Ms. Oval. Thank you.